When Judy first showed up on my island, I'll admit I was a bit caught off guard. I had never seen a villager with such a bright and vivid, colorful design. After doing some extensive research, I determined that this bear cub is one of the most popular villagers on Animal Crossing. Though as you can imagine, I was quite surprised she chose Couch as her new home. Judy and I have never really bonded on a personal level, and yet I love her simply for the fact that she's so beautiful to look at. I've made many attempts to be friendly with her, give her gifts, and try to get on her good side, but I can tell she just doesn't really like me. And yet, I can't stop trying to earn her love. I mean, after 3 separate instances of her telling me to put a paper bag over my head, I couldn't help but follow her advice. After all, she is quite an influencer, loved by all, most popular villager on Animal Crossing, and I felt influenced. I'm so irrationally obsessed with Judy that I think she deserves to be turned into a squishy and live on my 3-dimensional desk as a real-life stress relief prop. I ordered this bear squishy on Amazon, which happens to be very fun to squish, and also looks a little bit creepy and sad, making this squishy the perfect candidate to receive a makeover to look just like Judy. I learned everything I know about squishy makeovers from another YouTube channel called Mariah Elizabeth. The first step of covering up this squishy will be to paint a base layer of white fabric paint over the squishy. However, as you can see, I've already made a mistake because I realized after the fact that I didn't like that snout that was on the squishy, so I snipped it off with scissors, and now I'm covering up the area with slick fabric paint. The problem with the slick fabric paint is that it dries really lumpy, so I tried to do something that Mariah did in many of her videos, where she covers up the paint with a popsicle stick, or basically she paints the whole squishy with a popsicle stick. This takes more skill than I realized, skill that I don't have, so I went back to using the slick fabric paint directly on the face of the squishy. In the dark, with terrible lighting apparently. I continued to paint layers and layers of matte fabric paint to cover up some of the bumpiness and just make sure that there was a thick layer of white paint on the squishy. I then drew Judy's face directly on the squishy so that I would have some kind of template to work off of before I started blending the paint onto the squishy. In the game, Judy's character is made up of 3 different pastel colors: a light pink, a darker pink, and a light blue. I mixed up these 3 colors in preparation to blend them directly onto the squishy. Again, her colors are very blended and beautiful looking, so I wanted to match her colors and blend them as closely as possible to the real Judy. I used these pens to mark exactly where I wanted each of those colors to go around her face. I hoped that this would help me minimize any mistakes or confusion about where the colors would go. Once I got the colors onto her face, there was just a lot of blending that needed to happen. As you can see, this took many coats, blending, coloring over things. Did I use the word blending enough times? Once I'm done blending these colors, I'm going to start working on Judy's sweater. The reason that I chose this sweater for the makeover is because I don't really like the original dress that Judy comes with when she arrives on the island. It's just like a pink and white thing that she's wearing. I really liked the colors on the sweater, and I feel that it just fits her personality much better. Normally, painting the outfits onto the squishy is my least favorite part of a squishy makeover, but I actually had a lot of fun making this sweater. I used slick fabric paint for the red and pink stripes, and I used matte fabric paint for the purple stripes. It doesn't really matter which type of paint, but I prefer to use the slick paint for the clothing because the slick paint pops out and looks a little bit more three-dimensional once it's on the squishy. Judy is not actually wearing a heart necklace in the photo that I worked off of to make this sweater. However, the heart necklace came with this bear and I think it's actually kind of cute, so I left it on there just for Judy. Now that the sweater is done and dry, I'm going back to work on the face using a micron pen. This is where it gets tricky because she does have very specific looking eyes, and so I tried my best to make the eyes as close to correct as possible. I just took a quick break from the face so that I could work on the feet. The eyes were colored in purple paint, so I needed them to dry. For the final touch, I used a white jelly roll pen to fill in her eyes. I know this is a 7 or 8 minute video, but painting the squishy actually took about 3 days between all the drying time and painting time, and it was really fun to make. I do think the Makeover squishy looks much better than that brown bear, and it's still very fun to squish and look at. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it.